Good Shabbos. We are beginning. Shabbat Shalom. It is good to be back. It's good to have everyone back. And we are beginning with the Shalom Aleichem in the Siddur on page 5. This song is approximately 1,000 years old. Never gets old. Ha 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 ha. Song never gets old. That's what my kids say, stop, Dad. Anyway, so we're on page 5 for the Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei ashalom, malachei elyon, mi melech, malachei hamlochim, hakadosh baruch hu, baruch hu l'shalom. Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please turn to page number 10 for Yedid Nefesh. The first two stanzas. This is a poem, and there's a tenderness and a gentle love within the Yedid Nefesh. Many of us recognize the word Dodi, which is found in the book Song of Songs, and in other references, Dodi Li, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, and Dodi and Yedid could be related. So there's that sense of gentle love, of caring love between the individual soul and God. The first two stanzas. Yedid nefesh avarachaman mishach avdach el ritzonach yarutz avdach kemo ayam yishtachaveh mohadarach Ki yerav lo yedidotach minofet suv vechol tam hadur nae ziv olam nafshi cholat avotach ana elna Refan Allah Beharot La Noam Zivach As Titchazek V'Titrapeh V'Hayatalach Shivchat Olam Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai Dai Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 Yadadai Dai 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 L'chunaranana on page 11. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, nekadma fana bitoda. Naria, naria, letzor yishenu, vizmera naria lo. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. Lechoneranena, 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 ladonai. On the English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voices in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. On the bottom of page 12. Arbaim shana kut fedor v'almarm to'e lev avhem v'hem lo yadu drachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. On page number 16, on the English side. Worshippers of idols, be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Let's stop there. Why would the psalmist 3,000 years ago write these words? Worshippers of idols, you should be ashamed of yourselves for praising false gods. And anything that you call supreme, that is inferior, only God. Why would somebody write these words? Teach a lesson, exactly.
What in a period of time where that was commonplace for people to worship idols and such?
It was certainly commonplace 3,000 years ago for people to worship inanimate objects, to view them as divine, greater than themselves. Now, we are 3,000 years later, and most of us typically don't bow down to the tree, a river. Well, at least probably not. Oh, there we go. Now we're talking. Now we're talking, exactly. So how do we interpret this? What's the strength of this prohibition? And it's the second and third commandments. First, second, and third combined, really, or essence thereof. And I would say it diminishes who we are. Each one of us is a soul. Each one of us has a mind. And if and when we idolize something, we are diminishing our mind and we are devaluing the soul. Continuing. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. On page 21. Page 21. Mizmor leDavid, Avul Adonai B'nelim, Avul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Avul Adonai Kavod Shemo, Hishtachavul Adonai B'Hadrat Kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vaishaber Adonai ezar ze'al Badon, Vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo ben Remim. Kol Adonai chotzei v'havotesh, Kol Adonai Yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai Yachol el ayolot, Vayechesof ya'arot, Uvehechalo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. And on page 23, excuse me, the first three stanzas, page 25, the concluding stanzas of the Charudim. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, hishmeyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat chila. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzai mitocha hafecha, rav lach shevet v'yemek habacha, v'hu yachamol ala yechemla. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. V'hayelim shisa shosayich, v'rachaku kol mevalayich, yasis alayich Elohayich, kimsos chatan al kalam. Lechadodi lekrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nikabela. Yamin yamin usmol tifrotzi, v'yet Adonai taritzi al yarish Ben Partsi, Venismecha, Venagila, Lechadodi, Lechatkala, Yadadai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, Nekabela, Boi Veshalom, Materet Bala, Gambe Simcha, Uvetzola, Tachamune, Amsegula, Boi Chala, Lechadodi, Lechatkala, Yadadai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, Nekabela, Lechadodi, Lechatkala, Yadadai, 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 Pnei Shabbat, Nekabela. And we are seated. And now we're turning to the nearly doorway of entering Shabbat. The Mizmor for Shabbat on page 27 introduces us to the Borchu, which is where Shabbos really begins. And tonight we'll begin with a melody from Nativ, and I ask you to be willing to consider a melody that you may have occasionally heard, you may not know very well, but the Hebrews before us, the transliterations before us here on the bottom of the facing page in the red ink. And I want us to hear the words Tov Lahodot. Tov means good. Lahodot means to thank. A psalm that opens the doorway into this time of Shabbos starts with the phrase, it's a good idea to say thank you. This is 3,000-year-old vocabulary. But in slang we'd say, it's a good idea to say thank you every morning, every night. And that's how we transition from ordinary time to God's favorite time, by reminding us that twice a day we should be thankful. So Nativ, the Mizmor for Shabbat on page 27, the first two lines, it's Tov Lahodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Lahagid baboker chasdecha ve'emunatcha balelot.
Shabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer, ulezamer, l'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer, ulezamer, l'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, אמונתך בלילות, אמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני.
Whom will you and I become if every morning and every night we remind ourselves that we are in need of something much greater than ourselves? When we school ourselves to appreciate what it means to be, on the one hand, nearly nothing, and on the other, nearly approaching the zenith of creation. Every single morning and night, we transform ourselves. bottom of page 28, the tzaddik. Tzaddik hatamar yifrach ke'erez balbanon yizkeh shetulim bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu Od yenuvun beseva tishenim v'rananim yiyu lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlatobo. And we turn to the song sheet, Journey by Craig Talman. And there are a number of melodies we've shared over the years. But first, just a reminder, if you look at the very bottom of the song sheet, you have the words in the Hebrew, it's transliterated, Kol ha'olam kulo, Gesher tsar ma'od, which literally means the whole world is a narrow bridge. Craig has modified that with an interpretation. It's almost midrashic. And in his phrasing, it's only a journey. Just let that sit inside us as we sing. We've had a bit of technical difficulty. We're going to see if we can get this going. If not, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. But let's just see if we can figure this out. Time out 1 second, let's see. Well, folks, we may not be doing it. Well, I suppose we're not doing it. Oh, here we go. Time out 1 second. Let's see. I was hoping we could do this on a louder volume than my cell phone. Nope, it's not working. Sorry about that. Okay, well, guess what? Absolutely, and you know what else? This is a reminder of why we Jews 3,000 years ago heard God's voice. Step away from equipment and technology. We're supposed to focus. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. It goes like this. Different melody. And let's look at the wording here, which is in the Siddur on page number 82. Page 82. 82. Page 82. The words are Kol ha'olam kulo. It's the third line down on page 82. Kol ha'olam kulo. Gesher tsar ma'od. V'ha'ikar Lo lefache klal. V'ha'ikar is the main thing. Lo lefache klal. Don't be afraid. Kol olam kulo, gesher tsar mod, gesher tsar mod, gesher tsar mod. Kol olam kulo, gesher tsar mod, gesher tsar meod. Ve'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal. Ve'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. The whole world is a very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. But the main thing is not to fear, no, not to fear at all. But the main thing is not to fear at all. When you and I are walking along and we're traversing point A to point B on this bridge, there's always somebody in front of you. There's always somebody behind you. We're next to each other. We can hold on to each other. And the support that you gain from the person in front of you is transmitted to the person behind and behind and behind. And think of the consequences of your own touch and your reassurance. That's what Nachman of Breslov is teaching. We rise now to Borchu on page 39b. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam voed. And as we're seated, the first bracha on the English side, page 39b. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space. You completed your work of creation on the seventh day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest and all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, rolling light before darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah. As each evening does. El chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalein olam voed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. The evening service nickname is Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv comes from Erev. Erev means evening. Erev means evening. Ma'ariv, which we just Ma'ariv, Aravim. Ma'ariv means to make evening happen. Aravim is evenings. So Ma'ariv Aravim literally means, God, you make evening happen every single evening throughout the year. That's Ma'ariv Aravim. As Jews, traditionally on Friday night, just before evening, we light Shabbos candles. And perhaps when we get home, we'll have a chance to do so. Perhaps those joining online have already done so as well. So that's why I'm thinking about this next little song, which is a short piece. And it's the other song sheet, and I think we have this loaded because it's on a different computer. It's from Debbie Friedman. It's called Light These Lights. we conclude that prayer with the Chatimah, the last two lines on page 40. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema, page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shame calls a little bit. Ve'ahavto et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levavcha, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך A few moments of silence, perhaps considering passages on 42, page 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page 44. Mi chamocha poelim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, naratilot hoseifelet. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeh yam lifnei Moshe, zeli anu v'yamro, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar, ki fadarnai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimeno, baruch ata Adonai, Gaal Yisrael. On page 45. The Hashkivenu. And tonight we're going to begin in the center of the English where it says, remove some omit on Shabbat. We've talked about this before, and I'm not getting into that right now because it's obvious that we need to reiterate, especially this central line. And so we say together with extra focus this evening, remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people Israel. Jerusalem. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei sukat shalom aleinu, V'al kol amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru on the top of page number 46, V'shamru.
Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם לעולם. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. וביום השביעי שבת
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba B'yomadi b'rachot yemchutei b'chayechon uv'yom echon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala Bagala uv'izman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Le'olmei Olmaya Yitporach Yitporach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitoma V'yinaseh V'yidhadar V'yidale V'yitalal Shmei Dekudesha Brechu Le'la Mekor B'chata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechemata Da'amiran B'alma V'meru Amen. Before the Amida, just a question in your own minds. Answer inside yourselves. not out loud. How would your ancestors feel? Define your ancestors in your own way. If they knew that you were about to say a private prayer to God, but you were introducing yourself through that prayer to God by remembering them. We rise, the silent prayer, page 47 to 52, or a private personal prayer of our own devising. A couple of weeks ago, Ahavas Chesed hosted the neighborhood meeting, which for many years we have done. The Regency subdivision has been meeting here for decades and decades. Just before COVID and during COVID and a little bit after, there was a bit of a hiatus, and I continued to reach out to the neighborhood committee and request that we be honored to provide a venue, which is convenient for everybody in the neighborhood, air conditioning, comfortable seats, restrooms. It's a good fit. In my mind, it's very important to know our neighbors. It's very important for neighbors to know each other. And every once in a while, once, twice a year, a community comes into this building, and we're in the large sanctuary, and I usually get 10 to 30 seconds or so of a greeting. I say shalom, maybe shalom y'all, get a chuckle, that's good. Once in a while, I'm allowed a question or two, depending upon if we're earlier on time. And when I explain the windows and the Aron, and maybe the Torah if I've got time, people begin to learn a little about who we are and what we are and how we are. And this is consistent and ongoing and dedicated, and it's within the expression of friendship and community building. And I'm convinced that this is absolutely critical. I mention this because a young couple whom I know from the neighborhood, Thomas and Christine, came up to me at the meeting, and they said again, we are very much in support of you and your synagogue, your community, and the nation of Israel. And they deplore the violence, the attacks, the hostility, and also the very many mixed feelings and hostile sentiment that seems to be on the rise. I know this couple because they reached out to me a couple of years ago, and we've had coffee on a couple of occasions. They are of deep Christian conviction. And we've had conversations, some, not a lot, about matters of faith, and they know that they and I march to different drum beats. But they're very supportive. And it was this couple, which a week to 2 weeks after the attacks on October 7th, brought 203 roses to our shul and placed them in vases here on the center table. And many of us remember seeing those roses. And it lifted us up in a time when we saw only explosions and violence. And for a span of a couple weeks, we were heartened by those flowers, those expressions of love. And then we shared them with each other and said, take these and bring them out to the neighbors of your own communities. And we also shared them through the Federation because there was a meeting going on about a week later. And so these gestures of expression, of support, of neighborliness, and of respect came in and then went back out. And it was they who came up to me at the neighborhood meeting and again reiterated the support. And this is on my mind because we are of vastly different perspective, but they are sincere and they are genuine in their respect for us, even though we disagree on a variety of topics. 3 days ago, I received a phone call from a pastor. He's well known in this community. His name is Ed Litton, and I met him a few years ago. And I remember meeting him at this clergy meeting here in Mobile. And we've had a couple of phone calls, haven't spoken in a couple of years. And he called me a few days ago and he said, again, you and your synagogue in Israel, the Jewish people, are on my mind and in my heart. And I know Ed Litton, and I remember when, a few years ago, he was elevated to the presidency of the Southern Baptist Convention. Yes, the nationally famous Southern Baptist Convention, presidented by a pastor from Mobile, Alabama, which is dramatic and significant. We haven't had a lot of conversations about matters of, we would say, religious perspective. It's fairly apparent between he and I that we walk very different roads in a variety of ways. But he called me and he said, you're on my mind, you're on my heart. What can I do for you in your synagogue? And he went on to say, I go to Israel once a year and I watch daily news segments on a couple of YouTube channels from Israel, and you and all of you are in my heart and in my prayers. What can I do for you? And I said, I have a request. the next time that you go to Israel, tell me in advance so that I can offer a prayer upon you. And you'll take that prayer from me, from our synagogue, with you to Israel. And I mean it. And he appreciated it. Ed and I disagree on a variety of topics, but he and I can live in our own community. We breathe the same air. Thomas and I live literally in the shared neighborhood, and we breathe the same air, and we occasionally bump into each other when we're walking. We have vastly different opinions, and we're able to talk because within those sincere expressions is respect. There is acceptance that we can be different people. We can breathe the same air, live in the same community, and walk occasionally parallel, often skewed paths. But we respect each other because we know that he's a man of conviction, he's a man of faith, and I'm a man of conviction, and I'm a man of faith. This is on my mind because of the explosions in the loudness of diatribes on media all around us every single day. These weeks, these months, it seems far too long. And I wonder, what can I say to my Jewish people that they can take with them as Shabbos is about to approach and they leave the synagogue and they go out into their lives here in Mobile, where they live in their own neighborhoods, their own homes? Is there a teaching from Judaism that they will appreciate, they'll know, and they'll remember? And the answer is yes. And the words are, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. It's Yiyu l'rotzonim refi, ve'agyon libi lefanecha, Adonai tzriv goli, from the book of Psalms. And many of us grew up knowing the phrase, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God. And I'm sharing this with you so that you can go out and speak to your neighbors on a variety of topics, and recognizing that you and your neighbors are not going to be walking the exact same path. You're going to have diverse opinions, but you're going to know that the words that come forth from your mouth are sincere and respectful because you're a people of conviction and of faith. And you recognize that the people you're speaking with are people of conviction and of faith. And if we can lay that foundation, that each one of us and people living side by side are people of conviction, of tradition, of focus and respect, even though we disagree, maybe we can bring down some of the heat in our shared neighborhoods, beginning in Mobile, perhaps in Alabama, and elsewhere. The thoughts are in our hearts. The thoughts are in our minds. They're about to come out of our mouths. How will they exit our lips to go out so that they'll be received by somebody else? If I speak to a person with conviction and respect and sincerity, knowing that he and I may disagree, but we're not going to get into fisticuffs or hostility, can I plant a seed? And similarly, can you plant a seed? And might she or he plant a seed? Let this be our new platform. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart concerning everything that I'm thinking and speaking be acceptable to God. May that be my guidance. And maybe I'll leave an imprint on my neighborhood. For all of us. We rise, the Aleinu. Page number 56. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו ואפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום ושבת אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. Please remain standing. We turn now to the Mourner's Kaddish on page number 58. We have a number of names today. And a reminder that each name is a beloved one. Each name is a word of prayer. Remember this evening, this Shabbat, Roy Reiner, Isidore B. Mazel, Norman Buckman, Rufus Sizemore, Harris Lubell, Rains Watkins, Beatrice Susan Hirsch, Jacob Joseph Ratner, Polly Kramer, Esther Grossman Cohen, Katie Inton, Vi Burton, Samuel Friedman, Fanny Rips Meisler, Agnes Tenenbaum, Rebecca Peretz, Rose Gottlieb, Isaac Friedman, Florence Stiebel, Rose Walters, Herman Finch, Nellie Idelson, Larry Michelle, Ethel Mazel, David Mazel, Reverend Simon Burson, John Webster Jr., Adele Baer, Isidore Mazel, Dory Schreiberman, Frank Ladrzynski, Charles Zucker, Bernard Hanwerger, Lena Mazel Berger, Dick Reiner. Are there any other names to mention tonight? And perhaps somebody at home has a name to share as well. And we remember all those lost civilian and loved ones by those attacks. And members of the IDF who are protecting the nation of Israel. Remember them all. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba. Amen. Be'olma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chaye echon u'b'yom echon u'b'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zaman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mivarach la'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imaru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. And we'll conclude this night singing Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Hey ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, hey ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, hey ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, hey ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Think about how powerful your singing is. V'imru, let there be peace over everybody. Your song just did that. What a powerful group of people you are. Amen. God bless y'all. So, good Shabbos, folks. Shabbat shalom. We can't wait to see you in person. Come on back. We need you. May God bless you. You are loved. You're important. Shabbat.